Government plans to subsidize rural freight. The Pacific Games baton ends its tour of Gulf. And hundreds flock to the Sir John Guise Stadium for Hunters Game.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartolo.
Thank you for joining me. This is Saturday's news. The national government will soon announce a policy on rural freight subsidies to complement existing budgetary funding to districts. Civil Aviation Minister Davis Stephen hinted at this policy during an inspection at Lae's Nadzap Airport. The policy is expected to support agriculture, tourism and other industries that rely on air travel.
Over 40 years, rural airstrips have been allowed to deteriorate, and by the turn of the century, there were very few in operation. In provinces like Sundown, third-level airlines withdrew due to high operating costs. Since taking office, the Civil Aviation Minister Davis Stevens has visited at least one rural airstrip in nearly every province of the country. Morobe has featured prominently on the list of priorities because the province has about 1/5 of Papua New Guinea's estimated 200-plus airstrips.
Scott, I've just been to the Morobe Administrator's Office to once again articulate the need to continue collaborating with the Rural Airstrips Agency that is out there, that has already helped to set the standards, the minimum safety standards in terms of designing and building of airstrips.
In the next few months, the government will announce a policy aimed at cutting the freight cost burden for people in rural areas. This could result in significant gains for coffee-growing rural populations who have to pay hefty freight costs charged by third-level airlines.
Government has started in giving the concession, the first concession in terms of exempting all third-level operators that are focused towards delivering service to our rural communities. Secondly, now government is about to release a policy on freight subsidy. And the thinking process now is to ensure that the agriculture sector and tourism sector and all the other economic sector priorities of government drive the question of
Morobe is also set to receive significant government investments in the aviation sector. The Nadzap Airport will be upgraded to cater for more passengers and more flights. This also means the airport's safety systems and equipment from the 70s and 80s will have to be upgraded. Despite the increased funding to road infrastructure, a lot of people still are cut off and are heavily dependent on rural airstrips that are serviced by church-owned aircraft. What really needs to happen is a drastic reduction of freight and fuel costs so that the need for government intervention is reduced over time. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
Simbu Province is slowly emerging as a leader in aviation service delivery. The Civil Aviation Minister, who arrived from Lae after 2 days in Simbu, said the Simbu provincial government has made a conscious effort to improve its rural airstrips in a structured manner. Partnerships have been developed and more third-level airlines are flying into agricultural hotspots like Karamoe.
Because at Karamoe, I saw MAF, SDA Aviation, and one of the other operators, plus I saw the provincial government coming forward to invest 500,000 kina worth of infrastructure in terms of fencing, putting up a terminal facility with toilet facility and waiting capacity for our people, the passengers. And also in Karamoe, I see the industry, the aviation sector coming forward to deal with the issue of convenience, efficiency in service, but also in terms of trying to deal with the airfares and the freight issue.
Education remains the #1 priority for Enga Province. Wabeg MP Robert Ganem says the province is taking the lead in investing in human resource. With many schools around the country struggling to accommodate teachers and students, schools in Wabeg district are fortunate that progress has been made to improve education infrastructure.
Shortage of classrooms and teachers' houses has been an issue faced by many schools nationwide. In Wabeg district, education maintains its record as a priority, with government's free tuition fee policy that results in students overcrowding in schools. The leading province in the education sector has invested greatly in schools' infrastructure. In Wabeg electorate, local MP Robert Ganim has shifted responsibility for building new classrooms, teachers' houses and aid posts to parents and community. Empowered by 16 brand new sawmills, 5 chainsaws and a sum of 3 million kina parked at the hardware, the MP wants to see parents taking responsibility in milling their timber to build infrastructures.
Milling by standard classroom, start lo akom, igor lo surungi, na lo maramuni saitu.
Yesterday, a big ceremony was held in Wabeg town, where these 16 sawmills and 5 chainsaws were given to each tribe to manage.
So me making one pla man, inside one pla tribe. Time lagi machine dong, Islam man lolim, Islam machine even the private machine do you.
1 million kina from DSIP funds were used to purchase this equipment. Another 3 million kina was paid to hardware for schools and health centers to get building materials. While other schools in the country desperately need infrastructures, Wabeg is managing the additional 5 million kina on the original 10 million kina DSIP funds to invest in health and education. Quinton Alomp, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. The oil search baton relay team concludes its journey in the Gulf province. I'll give you the details after the break. Welcome back to the news. The Pacific Games baton relay wrapped up its tour of the Gulf province, ending with a number of stops at Kerama town and surrounding villages. The baton will continue its journey on to Eastern European province next week. Let's take a look at how the people of Gulf celebrated the baton's visit to the province.
After much rain delays, the oil search Pacific Games relay team was greeted by thousands of enthusiastic children at the Ila Karaita Primary School in Kerama. Then it was off on the chopper, sponsored by Puma Energy, to Ihu High School. The baton was met with sing-sing groups from Ihu and Vailala. The group performed a number of songs, dancing to their bamboo klecker sticks. The baton was then passed on from the head teacher to the head girl and over to the top athlete who ran the baton around the school before moving to the primary schools of St. Anne's Orokoro and Harona. At the end of the tour, the Deputy Provincial Administrator, who accompanied the baton for most of its journey across the province, formally handed over the baton back to the oil search relay team and wished them well in their remaining journey across the country. The oil search Pacific Games relay continues.
A prominent businessman in Western Highlands has been arrested and charged for fraud. Nixon Koi, aged 65 of Tambul district, was charged by the National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate with 5 counts of unlawfully attempting to claim a large block of land in Mount Hagen town. Section 13 lots 1 and 2 were rightfully owned by the National Council of Young Men's Christian Association of Papua New Guinea. The courts found that Mr. Koi forged a signature of a deceased person who was the president of YMCA. Koi was charged with 5 counts, including fraudulent conspiracy, false pretense, cheating and perjury. He is on bail on medical grounds after being held at the Baroko cells and will await mention at the Waigani courts. Landowners in PDL1 of the LNG project have rejected the selection of clan leaders by Minister for Petroleum and Energy Nixon Duban. They say the selection does not represent the interests of the majority of people living in the project area. They want Minister Duban to review the selection before progressing to the second phase of the clan vetting program.
First
A frustrated and concerned PDL1 landowner expressed that proper consultation was not followed by Petroleum and Energy Minister Nixon Duban. Willie Wandija told EMTV the unfair selection is unjust and lacks due process accorded by the Oil and Gas Act and its framework.
We're supposed to have 6 leaders plus association that represent each of the blocks.
Wandija says the selection does not reflect clan leaders from communities in the PDL1 area, which includes 6 blocks of Heights 1. He says over 60,000 people are covered in the area and fair representation is vital.
Minister to relook or review, especially for Heights PDL1, which I see it was a bit unfair.
Mr. Wandija says PDL1 in the LNG project owns 72% of the total equity and people must not be marginalized by self-interest of a few minority.
Or hand pick 1 or 2 leaders high speed 1, especially in high speed 1.
The leaders want Minister Duban to treat this with sensitivity and not allow duplication of processes and give false hope to the people. Earlier this week, PDL2 landowners attempted to shut down the Moran project site due to the state not upholding resolutions in a stakeholder meeting. Both PDL1 and 2 landowners are calling on the government to pave a way forward and consult landowners as a key stakeholder while embracing this multi-billion project. Jack Lapava Jr. National EMTV News.
Now to something to liven up your evening. Plastic Kokorime from Nagamufa in the Eastern Highlands is an auxiliary policeman with the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. A former rugby league referee, he has been volunteering as a traffic officer, directing vehicles and pedestrians at one of the main crossings in Goroka. Mr. Kokorime has become a lively addition to the Goroka landscape during peak hours of traffic. His animated gestures are what draws crowds on onlookers who come to cross and watch him. Kokorime does this job as part of his community service. Hunters fans line up for the Intrust Super Cup match against the Magpies at the Sir John Guise Stadium in a short while. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. In tonight's Queensland Intrust Super Cup match, the SP-PNG Hunters will take on the South Slogan Magpies at the Sir John Guise Stadium. The Hunters will be testing out the playing field in preparation for the Pacific Games. Supporters and fans started gathering outside the gates at noon today.
Now behind me are fans and supporters for the PNG Hunters, all gathered outside the gates, getting ready to go in for the match tonight.
Hundreds of men, women and children all stood in line to get a glimpse of the new facilities and to support PNG's favorite team. Also part of the crowd were face painters. Entry into the stadium is through ticket. The gates opened at 4 p.m. this afternoon with strict entry policies and bag search. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
Friendly matches were played today at the Sir John Guise Stadium to test out the hockey field and the beach volleyball pit for the Pacific Games. The Papua New Guinea men's and women's national hockey teams were out on the turf playing 5-a-side matches.
In preparation for the games, the hockey team played 5-a-side matches with volunteers and officials, witnessed by a small number of spectators at the Sir John Guise Stadium today. After the men's match, we caught up with Captain Milton Kisapai, and this is what he had to say about the world-class TEF.
First and foremost, it's been a very exciting experience because finally here in PNG we have our very own AstroTEF, which is a bonus for now Team PNG and also for future national team traveling out or whether hosting international events or games here.
Following the games, more international tournaments can be held here in the country.
Funding has been a very challenging issue for PNG hockey, really traveling out to international tournaments. And now finally that we have a facility that could really host international tournaments, probably international standard as well. So it would be it's going to be a very big bonus for PNG hockey to now finally being able to host international.
With a few weeks left before the games, the hockey team's preparations is on par.
The preparation has been going very well. We've secured the tennis court, and now we're hoping that we could finally train on the new turf that is being tested right now here.
Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
There were the details for the next 24 hours. When we come back, stay with us.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region, Port Moresby, fine although cloudy at times. Squally showers in Daru, rain periods in Kerma, showers and rain for Popondetta, and a shower or two for Alotau. Over to the Mamasa region, Lae you can expect showers and rain and brief showers expected in Madang, Vanimo and Wewak. Over to the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, brief showers, a few showers expected in Kokopo, Rabaul and Kavieng, squally showers in Kimbe and showers in Buka. And finally in the Highlands region, all centres to expect evening showers and morning fog. And that's the way it is this Saturday, the 13th of June 2015. From the EMTV News team, I'm Mary Batulo. Pleasant viewing.